Happy Tuesday! My name is Alan.
And my name's Nick.
And welcome into the dungeon.
So what are Shrew's Shrubberies gonna do?
I don't know if I fancy heading into the actual ranch. I mean, we had trouble with around 5 orcs. It was the last time that we fought, I think.
Yeah.
I'm guessing there's going to be more in this ranch. So I'm not feeling very confident that Shrew's Shrubberies can take all of these out. I'm starting to concoct a plan that might go very badly, or it might save us some fighting. But let's see. Fabian, I'm thinking maybe we should do something to split. Although we don't really know how many numbers are in there, but maybe we could split the numbers up a bit. Or maybe lure them away from the ranch for a bit. Maybe not all of them. If all of them leave, well, better, we can go in and get out. If not all of the orcs leave, then we'd be splitting them up, and maybe we can buy some time to take a few out first, and then concentrate on others. I have this handy contraption here. The one that we were given by our friends the gnomes back in Gnomeregon.
Oh yes, I recall that.
Yes, it was a wand of pyrotechnics. And we can use that to make a little light display. But more than the display, it's the sound it makes. They would hear it 300 feet away. So I'm thinking, if maybe one of us moves from here, goes to the other side of the ranch, going round the actual ranch, obviously trying to stay low so that we are not detected. If whoever goes lets off a few of those pyrotechnics, maybe we can distract the orcs or lure them to that side, and then we charge from this side where we are right now.
But how would the one that's on the other side make their way all the way back to...
I'm already nominating you, because I think you're the fastest, but you'd have to run all the way back here, or at least half of the way back here, and then enter the ranch to meet us. You will be delayed. We will have to take the fight on first. It's a bit risky, but...
But if all the orcs catch, I will not... I hate orcs as much as any other man, but so many orcs, if that's what we're thinking, if I get found, I'm done for. I can hold my own, but...
Yes, but you let go of the pyrotechnics and you run. You'll get out of there way before they actually...
Could I take a horse?
Yes, I mean, you could take a horse. I fear that you might be spotted easier if you are on a horse, but you could take the horse if you wish to. But this is a spell. It's not like you have to set up fireworks or anything of the kind. It's just a spell that you do.
And I can use this?
Well, that's a good question.
I know you have some sort of gift with nature's magic, but I'm but a man.
I think you should be able to. It's just a question of pointing to the place 60 feet away from where you want to the magic to happen, pointing to it, and let the wand do its trick. It's but a simple wand. And as I say, you can be 60 feet away, so you can have 60 feet advantage before you get out. It's a question of doing the wand. You can do up to 7 charges, maybe do 3 or 4, just for good measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, and get out. As quick as you can, halfway back. You don't have to run all the way back here, halfway back, and then meet us in a place that we'll decide.
Do you think perhaps we should scout the area before doing that? Or
we could.
Do you propose to do this now, or are we waiting for nightfall?
I mean, I considered waiting till nightfall, but if our friend Big Al is alive, he might be living in borrowed time right now, and maybe every second counts. So I don't know if to go as soon as we can. And your other question? Oh, if we should scout first. We could, but what if we are discovered? And what if the 3 of us scouts, there's more chance that we'll make a noise and be discovered. if one of us scouts and that person is discovered, I fear that they won't stand a chance against many orcs. They are indeed a lot like we do think.
Roll me a persuasion.
That's 10 plus 0, 10.
Fabian looks a little concerned at the plan, but he seems happy to go with it. Roll me a d10 as well, please.
7.
7. Fenna sort of turns to you and says, Shrew,
Yes.
that magic that you have, that you turned into a bear, can you turn into other creatures? Perhaps something farm-like, so if you fire off the wands and you're spotted, you could just be, I don't know, a pig or a cow or something like that.
Yes, I could. But my fear is that these orcs are hungry, and they would have no qualms in slaughtering a pig or a cow to eat.
Yes, you make some sense there.
Especially if it's a runaway pig or a runaway whatever animal.
Yes, you do have a point there. It looks like it's down to you then, Fabian.
What do you say, Fabian? Or do you have any other plans that you think?
I'm happy to do, as you say, Shrew.
Obviously, once we do this, they will know that someone's here and that someone's attacking, so if they don't all go to investigate, perhaps only one goes to investigate. Maybe only 2 go to investigate. The rest will be ready for us, so it will be harder to sneak in. At that point, we would have to attack. It wouldn't be a question of sneaking in. We would have to start attacking.
Okay, yes. I best be on my way then. Where will we meet? Just to remind yourself and the listeners, you're about 200 feet away from the farmstead, and what you can see is a couple of large cornfields, what looks like an orchard behind that, and then a small body of water with what looks like a burnt down barn, and then almost in the middle top you've got what looks like the farmhouse.
So there was an orchard, you said?
An orchard sort of behind the cornfield closest to you.
Is it rather close to me as I enter the fences of the farmstead or the farm area?
It's about, I would say, about 40-50 feet from the perimeter to the orchard.
So Fabian, we should meet at the orchard that we see from here. Once you let off the charges, come running back as far away as you can from the farm so they don't spot you, and we will meet in the orchards. Get as close to the orchard as you can, and we'll meet there in the cover of trees.
Yes, the meeting in the orchard does make sense. That would provide us with some cover. My only concern, Shrew, is that the other side of the farm there's little to no cover. How far did you say that works? About 60 feet?
Well, you can do the effect 60 feet away from you. On a point you can see 60 feet away from you.
From my calculations, I think it from the outer edge of the orchard. I mean, I can't quite tell how deep it is from where we are. But perhaps if we can get deep within those trees, at 60 feet, I think we could put the effects of your wand maybe beyond the farmhouse from what I can gather from here. Perhaps not far enough to get them out of our troubled range.
Well, perhaps a distraction is a distraction anyway, and they would turn their eyes on this sound, leaving the farmhouse unattended. Because you, like me, I imagine, are thinking that in the farmhouse is where we'll find our friend Big Al.
I would imagine so. Alternatively, those wheat fields could provide some.
Yes, they're quite tall.
Some cover as well, particularly for you and Fenna.
Yeah, we won't be seen. So, and the wheat fields are, let's say, directly south from the orchard.
Yeah.
So, and directly north from us right now.
That's correct.
This is what we're gonna do. After deliberating and taking all ideas into consideration, here we go through the wheat fields right north of us, which are directly behind the orchard. Once we get to the edge of that wheat field, just before we enter the eastern part of the orchard, from where we are, we do the spell with a wand. We do it 60 feet eastwards to the other wheat field that we see from here, and we keep an eye out. we see if anyone is lured and if any orcs leave the farmstead, the farmhouse, and we'll take a decision there. But my idea is then to rush through the orchard, or sneak as fast as we can through the orchard, and eventually rush to the farmhouse to see if we see any signs of Big Al.
Agreed, I understand. Yes, that makes sense to me.
Let's go then. We'll leave the horses here grazing. I think they should be far enough from danger.
Should we tie them, or do you want to speak to them and ask them to remain here?
Yes, I will speak to them. Give me 10 minutes.
Okay.
Go preparing yourselves. Anything you do need to do.
So Fenner sits down in prayer, and Fabian sits there with a whetstone, sharpening his blades and checking his armor and making sure that he's ready for battle, leaving any unnecessary packs and provisions on the horses.
Okay, so I do the ritual and speak to the horses. Friends, we are going into your home, and I'm speaking to the horses that were branded with this farm's initials or the owner's initials. We are gonna look for your master, and hopefully we'll find him. We know that there might be orcs in there, as you yourselves know, so we want you to just hang around here. I don't think I need to tell you, but just keep an eye out on our other friends that joined us yesterday, and please keep together. Once all of this is over, we will come back for you, and if your master is safe, you will be returned to him. If not, we'll take a decision. But please stay around. If you see any danger, flee. But once you feel that the danger is over, come back to this point. This is where we will meet. If we're not back by nightfall, we won't be back. So you're free. Do whatever you want at that point.
Thank you. Yes, there's plenty of green grass here for us to graze on. Thank
Enjoy.
you. See you soon.
I'm sure we will.
Okay, so you guys are gonna, I assume, go as quietly and stealthily as possible.
For now, yeah, stealthily as we can into the wheat field.
Okay, so before you march into the fields, or rather stealth into the fields, what's your marching order?
I'll go first, then Fenna, and then Fabian.
Okay.
The rear guard. I'm carrying the wand. I'll be using the wand.
Okay, noted. So you guys start to make your way off the path as you stealthily make your way towards the outer perimeter of the southern westernmost field that you identified you would enter through. And you sort of get to the fence, and as you climb over, part of the fence creaks and makes a slight snapping sound. And shh.
I'm sorry. I maybe it's those sausages. I wasn't aware. I was so heavy.
Quiet. And you guys start making your way through the wheat fields, and you're sort of stepping in small puddles, and you hear like a splash and a slodge of mud as you're trying to keep as quiet as you can as you're going through the fields. What's your passive perception, please?
12.
Okay, so as you're about halfway through the wheat fields, and you're sort of stepping on stalks of the wheat, and obviously you don't know the terrain well here, sort of the occasional stumble and a little more noise than you would have wanted to have made. You get about 20 or 30 feet away from the perimeter of the orchard, and coming from what sounds from where you are, deep within the orchard, you hear the distinctive sound of an axe biting into wood, sort of like a constant like.
I believe. Well, I'm saying this. I'm not shouting. I'm trying to.
You're saying this softly.
Yeah. I believe there may be an orc cutting some wood. Perhaps we should engage firework plan now and see if we can lure this bugger off.
Yeah, that could be wise. Are we still aiming this towards the middle of the field to the east, or are we changing the plan?
I think we should keep the plan as it was. Aim it to the other fields, the other wheat fields, to the east. Get them as far away as we can from us. My fear is that if we cast it too far outside of the ranch, perhaps they will lose interest and just think it may be a boulder fell from one of the cliffs or hills of the valley.
Yes. Are we waiting till we get to the orchard? Or are we going to the edge as you had planned, or are we doing this from here, from the wheat field?
You said we were quite close to the orchard already.
Yeah, about 20-30 feet away from the orchard.
If we do it from inside the orchard, whoever's cutting the tree might spot us. If we do it from here, perhaps we lure that person, that orc or whoever it is, outside of the orchard, and we can get in and use that as cover.
Yes, that makes sense. I feel more comfortable here, hiding in the wheat.
I'm gonna do it then. As soon as I do it, I'll let go of 2 charges, and as soon as I do it, we start to go in as close to the orchard, but not leaving the wheat field. And we try and spot if we see anything leaving, or anyone leaving the orchard.
So are we waiting to see if anybody moves first, or
yes,
on the spell we move?
On the spell we move to the edge of the wheat field, but not quite leave it.
Okay, yeah. Okay,
and we'll see if we see anything leave the orchard, and if we see anything leave the orchard, we'll wait a few seconds and then step into the orchard.
And are we doing this quietly, or are we making a run for it?
No. Let's keep it quiet for now. There'll be time, as when we hear some commotion and maybe a few orcs leave in the direction of the noise, then we can start hurrying up a bit. But the first few seconds, let's stay quiet.
Let's do this.
Okay. And I get a wand and point 60 feet away.
And can you read the description for my benefit and for the listeners?
So I can use an action to expend 1 slot. It has 7 charges. And what you get is a harmless burst of multicolored light at the point you can see up to 60 feet away. The burst of light is accompanied by a crackling noise that can be heard up to 300 feet away. The light is as bright as torch flame, but lasts only a second. So it's not so much the light I'm interested in, more so the sound it would make. They would hear it from all over the ranch, really.
Yeah.
From including the house. I'll do it as far away from us we can, but inside the actual wheat field that's opposite us.
So yeah, you hear a crackle, and you see
I do it 2 times, sorry.
Twice, so yeah, so 2 loud crackles that you can hear sort of break the monotonous thud of the axe on wood. You see that small burst of light which just lasts a little more than a second, and the sound of the wood being chopped stops abruptly.
So we're moving towards the edge of the wheat field and trying to look outside.
Yeah, I'll roll for stealth for you guys. Having prepared yourself and discussed this quite intensely, you notice as you're moving in half excitement, half panic of the dangers that could be coming, you notice that you are moving far quieter than previously.
Good.
You sort of reach the edge of the wheat field, and you're just 5 feet away now from the orchard itself. And from where you're standing at the moment, you're sort of surveying the area. So if you can roll, I'll say an investigation, because you're actively looking rather than just trying to perceive what's going on.
Okay.
And do it with advantage, because Fenner and Fabian are helping you.
Okay, advantaged help a bit. That's 11 plus 0, 11.
Okay, so as you're the 3 of you are surveying your surroundings, looking to see if there's any movement or commotion, you see coming from the outside of the easternmost side of the farmhouse, as you're looking at it, you see a single orc sort of making its way to the edge of the cornfield, having a look quite curiously at what that sound was that he just heard. And you're hearing the rustle of heavy footsteps. From what you can gather, there's 2 sets of footsteps sort of trudging through the orchard. You haven't seen anything yet within the orchard, but you have heard movement, sort of moving in a west to east direction. So
west to
in
east?
front of you. Yeah, so coming from the western side of the orchard.
Towards the east.
Towards the eastern side.
Right.
It sounds like they're more or less bang in the middle of the orchard.
Right.
As we sound. And you also hear in the distance, about 60, 70 feet away, the squealing of a pig. And commotion, sort of shouts in Orcish coming from about 60 feet beyond from where you are at the moment, past the orchard.
Right. Towards the farmhouse.
Yeah. No, sorry, towards behind the orchard, like directly north from where you are.
All right.
So to the west of the farmhouse.
Right. Okay. Okay. We're gonna hold on a few seconds, keeping an eye out, see if if the footfalls we hear from within the orchard are moving away from the orchard eventually.
So as you wait for those moments, you see two orcs. They haven't really taken any notice of you guys. You're still hidden within the wheat field, sort of peering through the trees, which are quite neatly lined up. So as they're walking past, you can see the two orcs with their axes in hand, walking towards the outer edge. And as they get there, you hear them shouting in what you would perceive to be Orcish from your brief encounters with the orcs in the dwarven excavation site. And the orc on the far side that's sort of gone into the perimeter of the wheat field on the eastern side of the farmstead, almost as if some sort of conversation's been had between them, shouting amongst themselves. You don't speak Orcish, no?
No. I'm gonna do another one for good measure at the exact same place, and then we're gonna move. So I tell them in a whispered tone, exactly that. I'm going to do another one for good measure. As soon as I do, we head off into the orchard as quietly as we can.
Wait, before you do that, where exactly into the orchard? Are we just going in and hiding behind a tree, or are we gonna try to get through the... I'm a bit nervous here.
We'll go slowly into the orchard. Again, keeping our eyes out. If we see a lot of commotion, we can step it up. We can hurry up a bit. We'll go through the middle, slightly diagonally, until we reach the end of the orchard, where I believe there was a fence on the other side. And then we'll reassess quickly. But the idea is from there to head on to the farmhouse and see if we see anything there. If we see orcs in the way, we'll have to deal with them. But let's see what we find.
Agreed. Yes. Okay, I'm ready.
Here we go. And I do another one, so that's 3 slots I've used on the 7 slots.
So yeah, the crackle sounds again, and you sort of see the two orcs on the edge of the orchard, sort of like, slapping and pushing each other, like, hey, did you... Or rather, you imagine them saying, like, hey, did you see that? You've got no idea what they're saying, but you can take an educated guess. The orc on the edge of the cornfield opposite you, again, sort of very puzzled, starts moving a little quicker now towards where he's seen that little flare of light and the sound. And again, you hear now squealing intensified from beyond the orchard where you are at present. The other two orcs sort of make their way out of the orchard now, again sort of shouting to the other orc in the other wheat field, and they start crossing, making their way there, as you guys start to make yourselves quietly and quite stealthily into the orchard and moving to the west side of it towards that fence that you mentioned. And as you walk through the orchard, trying to keep an eye on what's going on now in that field, there's quite a number of trees beyond you, and then there's what looks like a path that leads through the farmstead and the tall reeds as the orcs sort of go into there. So you can't really tell what's going on there anymore. There's silence in the orchard as you're moving through, and you come across what looks like a tree that's been, or rather that started to be chopped through, and you see some logs. So you've made your way to where you presume the orcs were chopping. And as you get to the edge of the orchard, before you get to that fence, you see that that fence is actually a paddock with the burnt remains of that building that you saw from your approach.
Right.
And sort of behind that burnt building and to the eastern side of the perimeter of that paddock, you see 3 orcs sort of looking over the fence and again shouting in Orcish to their companions in the fields. And you see a handful of pigs sort of running through the paddock, squealing and making quite a commotion.
Alright, we might be discovered by those orcs. East of us, just ahead of us, here, outside the paddock. I think I'm going to turn into an animal. I'm going to scout ahead. If you guys can stay here, get back into the orchard, so that you're not spotted, hide behind a tree. Not too far into the orchard, just here in the perimeter. Hide behind a tree. Keep an eye out on me. If I get compromised, then you can come and help me. If you guys are compromised and they find you, make sure to make noise, and I'll come.
I still have this. And Fenner pulls out one of the sending stones that you had.
I'm not sure if I'll be able to use it when I turn into an animal. No.
Are you turning into a bear?
No, you're a frog.
A frog? How on earth are we going to see you all the way down there as a frog?
Well, if I get attacked, I'll turn back into myself. If anything happens, I'll turn back into myself.
Okay then. And Fabian sort of draws his bow and loosely notches an arrow as he stands to watch God.
If I can, I will contact you using the sending stone. And if you can, do the same. But I'm not sure I will be able to answer.
Okay.
And I turn into a frog.
So, you turn into this little frog, and Fenner, and you see Fenner and Fabian look a little shocked. They've seen you change into a bear, but never into such a small creature before.
Okay, I want to try and hoppity hop all the way to the farmhouse, but trying to keep as best I can hidden from predators. What I would think might be, I don't know,
hungry
birds.
for a frog.
Anything that would be hungry for a frog, birds. I want to first go in the direction of the pond.
Okay, so you start
as fast as I can.
Hopping your way, stealthily or quickly?
No, just quickly, as fast as I can, heading into the pond.
Okay, so to get there, you're gonna go through some trees still.
Yeah.
To get there, so you hippity hop your way through the orchard without any issues. You get to the edge of the orchard. You sort of look around. You see the three orcs still looking and shouting. You can't see from where you are, particularly now in your diminutive form. You've got no idea what's going on, but you hear commotion from the wheat field where you had cast the spells from the wand of pyrotechnics. You also now hear another voice as well, one that you hadn't heard, again in Orcish. So now you hear 4 voices, whereas before you had heard 3 shouting there, and 3 coming from the paddock.
So I hear 4 voices from the wheat fields where I did the sound, and 3 coming from the paddock.
That's correct, yeah.
Right. So that's 7 voices I'm hearing.
So now, from where you are at the moment, you're about 20 feet away from the orcs that are leaning and shouting over the paddock fence. You're now close enough to see that they're covered in mud and they look quite greased up.
They were having a mud bath or mud wrestling.
But you can't quite tell what they were doing, but they are covered in mud and grease. And
all right.
As you're looking around, you see the pigs sort of squealing and running around. One of them sort of comes near the fence, which is about 10-15 feet away from you, and you see that the pig is... pigs are usually quite muddy, but you see that it's quite greased up as well.
The hog wrestling, they're catching hogs. Doing some weird thing with hogs. Okay, fair enough. Having seen that, I'll jump into the... Am I close to the pond already?
You're about 20 feet away from the pond now, and you will have to cross their line of sight, the orc's line of sight.
Yeah, but I'm a frog, so I'll just jump into the pond.
So you hop your way over with no issues.
And I plop.
And...
into the pond.
Little... As you fall into the pond.
All right.
You feel the coldness of the water sort of...
Soothing.
Soothe your aching muscles from 3 days' travel.
I could get quite used to this, I say in my froggish voice, in my frog mind. So
you start swimming.
Yeah, like I'm not pausing. I'm swimming quickly again and sticking to cover if there is cover in this pond where I think a frog could hide from predators again, and just trying to make my way out of the pond on the opposite side to get eventually to the farmhouse. There's
quite a few reeds in this pond and lily pads and debris, and as you're sort of swimming your way through, you're quite a small form now. So suddenly, as you're sort of swimming through, you see this hand underwater. Looks quite swollen and wrinkled. It looks like it's been there for some time. Just this severed hand.
Oh shit!
Sort of half settled, half sort of caught in the reeds towards the bottom of the pond as you're swimming around.
Okay, I imagine there were more people in this farm. It might not be big owls, So we'll carry on. I'm not about to carry a hand in frog form, so we'll carry on.
So you keep swimming as you're going by, and you can now sort of see the bank on the other side of the pond, and you're sort of swimming and looking, and you do see the occasional bigger fish that's going by, but they don't seem to have noticed you as you're swimming out, and you now make your way out of the water, sort of hop onto the soily and earthy bank on the eastern side now of the pond, and you can see that the perimeter of the farmstead is now just 10-15 feet away from you.
I carry on towards the farmstead, the farmhouse, until I get into it pretty much, trying to avoid obviously being spotted by anything, orcs included. But I'm not stealthing, I'm just hopping.
Just hopping as an innocent little frog.
That's right.
Yeah, so as you hop your way out, you see the wooden structure now very clearly of the farmhouse. It doesn't seem to have been damaged much, unlike what you assume was a barn or some sort of stable. You also see on the northern side of the pond a burnt and destroyed stone-looking building, and as you're looking around, you also note that the two windows that you can see immediately as you reach the sort of the corner of the farmstead, because you're coming out the pond and you can sort of see one side which appears to be the short side of the building, and then part of the longer side. You make out that there's some stairs going up the farmhouse, but you know that the few windows you can see are actually boarded shut.
Is the door open?
From where you are at the moment, you can't see the door.
But the stairs are leading to...
The stairs leading up to what you would imagine is a door, because from where the angle you're looking at the moment, you see the stairs come up.
But I don't see the door.
And there's a platform, but the door you assume is on the long side of the farmstead that you can't quite make out yet.
Right, so I'm going to hop up the stairs.
You make your way round the side of the building, and you hop up the small flight of stairs, and there is indeed a door there.
Is it open?
It's closed.
I didn't think this through. How is a frog to open a door? Do I see from my size, from where I am, do I see any cracks, any crevices that might be present on the door where I could maybe squeeze in through?
So as you're investigating Actually, give me an investigation roll.
Okay. 13 plus 0 is 13.
As you're investigating the door, there is a very small gap underneath the door, but it would be a very tight squeeze for a frog. And as you're looking over to the window to the left of the stairs, as you're now standing facing the door, you notice that whilst it's been boarded shut, there's a little gap in between the boards. You can't quite see whether there's any glass there, but from where you are, and again remembering that you're now a frog size, so everything looks humongous to you.
Yeah.
From your point of view, you can see that there's a gap in the boarded pieces of wood closing up or rather barricading up the window that perhaps you could squeeze through, but it's 10 foot away from the edge of the stairs where you are now.
So how high is it?
From where you are now, it's, if you were in human form, or rather in halfling form, it would be at about your chest height and 10 feet away, but bearing in mind that this is the side of a building and the boards are sort of slightly ajar, and you are to the left of that window, so you'd have to sort of make a calculated jump.
Alright, so as a frog, I believe I can jump 10 feet. I'm gonna try and land that tricky jump onto the windowsill of the window that's slightly to the side of me.
Slightly to the side and slightly above because you're in frog form. So yeah, please give me a acrobatics check, and that will be using the frog's dexterity modifier of +1.
Okay. 18 plus 1, 19.
Okay, so you sort of ready yourself, wiggling your booty a bit, sort of calculating the jump, and with an almighty leap, you jump and you land perfectly in between the ajar pieces of wood.
I stuck it. Is there a window?
There is, and it's ever so slightly ajar.
Oof, so I can squeeze in through that one?
Yeah.
Alright, so I'm doing that. I'm squeezing in. Before jumping off from the windowsill, I want to look around.
Okay, so give me a perception check, please.
That's a mighty old 3. plus 3, so 6.
So as you're sort of perched on this windowsill, and you're looking into the farmhouse, you start to survey your new surroundings, and you see that the room that you're in looks like a kitchen, and you can see that there's a door that leads to the far side of this kitchen area that you're in, to your right hand side as you're sort of perched on the window, and then on the nearer side to you, as you look to your right, you see that there's also another door there closed, and immediately to your right, the door that would have led you in from the stairwell where you were previously.
And are all these doors closed?
Yeah, as far as you can tell, from what you can see in your small frog form, they all seem well shut.
I don't see anyone in this room, though, do I?
No.
I wish I had the hat of invisibility that I gave Harvey.
Not sure how that would have helped you out here. Shrew obviously knows that it is not invisible.
So I'm seeing this door that was to the right, the one that leads outside, let's say. What kind of mechanism for opening and closing does it seem to have?
The doors?
Yeah.
So from what you can see, they look like handles that you pull down.
Okay. Alright. So I'm gonna hop off the windowsill. As quietly as I can, I'm gonna turn back into Shrew.
Okay, so you're jumping and then converting into...
Yeah, I'm not gonna convert in midair. I'll jump, get as close to that door as I can, the right one, the one that leads outside, and convert into Shrew. Okay,
so you jump down, and as you hit the floor, and wild shape back into Shrew, still a little wet from your exploits in the pond and your way here. Your left foot sort of gives way slightly as you thud onto onto the stone floor of the kitchen. And as you sort of get your bearings, you can see that there's a number of shelves with different foodstuffs and a couple of small barrels and a number of hanging pots and pans. You also see that there's a small table just off the fire, which appears to have a small... From where you are, it just looks like a small piece of wood, almost like a bowl shape from where you are.
On the table?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna take out the movable rod, which I also have, and I'm gonna kind of insert it in a way that if the door opens out, it would hit the knob, the handle, as it's turned downwards and get stuck.
Okay, so there's 3 doors.
The door that leads out, I mean.
The door that leads from where you were presently as a frog?
Yeah, the one I got closest to right now was the door that I was on the outside. The door that led outside. So that door, I want to stick the movable rod in a way that if the door handle opens and it opens outwards, it would hit the rod and stay stuck. And if it in turn opens inwards, it would still hit the rod, making it hard to open.
From what you can see now that you are in your Shrew form, nice pun intended there, you can see that all the doors where you are present open into the kitchen. So the plan that you've got there of putting the rod would stop the door from swinging in, which I think is the intention you've got there.
Because I'm in the kitchen right now. This is the kitchen, right?
This is the kitchen. Yeah.
But there's a door that leads outside.
There's a door that leads outside. As you're sort of gathering your bearings and from what you're looking at, just give me a straight up intelligence check, please.
That's 6, and my intelligence is 0. So 6.
Your modifier is 0, yeah, not
modifier. So 6.
Okay, I'll say that it's just barely enough as you're sort of getting your bearings and you're looking around cautiously, particularly more so now that you took a little stumble. The door that you saw as you came in, it wouldn't have struck you as the main entrance into a grand farmhouse like this. Almost sort of a side entrance that leads straight into a kitchen.
Right. Yeah, so there'll be more entrances. I would be thinking that there's probably more entrances to this house.
And whilst you're doing this, you can still hear the occasional shout and grunts from
outside.
From outside as Orcish. And what was your passive perception again? Sorry, was it 12?
Yeah, 12.
12. You hear the heavy footsteps from above you as well.
Right, so there's a floor above me.
Yeah.
All right, I'm screwed. Okay, so when we were outside and I saw an orc leave this house, did he go outside the direction where I've just come in from, or was it from another direction?
No, it was from the short side
Right.
on the far end of the house.
Another direction.
Yeah.
All right, so I can be imagining that orc, if he were to come back, he would be coming back through there. So let's say that just as I'm about to click the button on the immovable rod, I get a moment of inspiration and think, wait, this is probably not the main door. And I stash it away back in my pocket. I'm gonna stay as Shrew for now, which might not be very clever, but I'm going to one of the other doors and slowly opening it.
So which door are you going to? Obviously not the door that you would have come in from.
No.
So are you going to the one that's immediately to the right of that, or the one on the far side of the kitchen on the right as well? And are you doing this as you're investigating the kitchen, or are you just straight up going to the doors?
Actually,
because you sort of surveyed as a frog, you haven't really
yes.
looked around as Shrew.
So what I'm going to do actually is open the door that leads outside very quietly and just leave it slightly ajar, a large enough gap where a frog could pass through if I need to get the heck out of there. So I want to do that on that one.
Okay, yeah, so you very quietly make your way to the door, very carefully pull down the lever and pull in a couple of inches very silently, and it's no noise.
Good.
It opens nicely, and you sort of back away as quietly as you can again.
And you said I saw some food on shelves?
Yeah, like foodstuffs, dried foods, and sausages hanging off one of the shelves.
Okay, I grab a few sausages.
Okay.
Put them in my pocket.
And as you get close enough, when you get to the sausages, you're now close enough to see that on top of the table, that wooden bowl that you saw as a frog, you're now close enough to see that it almost looks like a inverted skull carved out of wood, and you can see that it's stained with a yellowish material. And you've eaten your fair share of nice foods, and the sausages sort of gently fried in butter. And as you're sort of looking at it, you can smell the distinctive odor of a fresh butter coming from within it.
Okay, so they've been eating here recently. What do you mean inside out skull?
Like an inverted skull.
Inverted skull? What does that mean?
As in, it's sort of depressed inwards. It's not a 3D skull. It's like a bowl shape with what looks like a skull inside.
Oh, the bowl has the shape of a skull inside.
Inside, like a
right. There's no skull. It's just the shape of a skull.
That's correct. Yes.
Like an imprint of a skull.
So as you're looking at it, it almost looks like a kind of mold.
Yeah. Right. Interesting. Okay, and it's fresh. You say. It seems like it's been melted recently.
Well,
the butter
there's like residue of butter on
it. Or
the smell of
right.
What smells like butter.
Right. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna grab those sausages whilst I curiously look at this kind of bowl mold thing with the imprint, the inverted skull, and I'm just moving on to the next door.
Okay, from where you are now, and in your shrew form, you notice that the door that's immediately to the right from the one that leads to the stairs and you just opened, that is firmly shut. The other door, which is further away from you, is ever so slightly ajar, almost as if it's been shut and then sort of bounced a little back. It's not been closed properly.
Alright, so I'm going to go to that one and ever so gently push it open quietly as I can.
It would be pull it towards you.
Alright, so pull it towards me, and as I'm pulling, try to peering through the crack.
As you pull it, and again, very quietly, it's not been latched, or rather the mechanism of the handle hasn't latched into the door frame. So you're able to very quietly and very quickly sort of open enough to peek through. And as you peek in, you see that it's an empty foyer, and immediately to your right you see that there's a wooden staircase leading upstairs, and immediately in front of you you see what looks more like a front door. This is sturdier and more elaborate. That's half open, And just to the left of that, you see that there's a window that's been boarded shut.
Okay. Before I do anything else, I'm gonna take the sending stone out of my bag and very quietly talk into it. Fenna, I'm in the farmhouse currently, and I am going to continue trying to see if I find anything important here. I am out of frog form. Are you guys okay?
Oh, Shrew, it's so relieving to hear your voice. You're inside the house on your own. We are safe here, but the three orcs that were on the edge of the paddock, they seem to have lost some interest in what's going on, and they appear to be chasing the pigs.
Okay, they seem to be distracted at least. Leave them be for now. Maybe I will, if I have a moment, I will try and distract them with the sound again. But for now, it might not be a good idea, but one thing has led to another, and I don't think it's wise for you guys to try and come to the house right now. If you hear any commotion, you will have to rush towards the house and try and help me here. But we'll see how things go. I'll try and keep contact with you. Hopefully I am not discovered.
Do you want us to get it closer to the farmhouse, or do you want us to stay here?
If you can get closer without being spotted, if you're sure, 100% sure that you won't be spotted, by all means. But if you're in doubt and think that you might be seen by one of the orcs...
But how will we know you're in danger?
Well, I'll make sure there's a large sound coming from inside the house, and if I can, I'll try and send you a message through this stone.
Okay, please be careful.
I'll try. If you do come into the house, there's a entrance on the long side of the farmhouse, just opposite the pond. That leads to the kitchen. This is where I came from. I'm going to try and shut the main door and lock it. So if you need to come in, make sure you do so through there.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna put the stone away, the stone of sending, and I'm gonna make my way towards that door that is slightly ajar that leads outside. And I'm gonna try what I was gonna do with the immovable rod. What I was gonna do on the other door, I'm gonna try on this one.
Okay, so that front door is ajar as well.
I'm gonna try and push it ever so quietly, and not necessarily click it into place, but still push it enough so that it's almost closed. That way I don't make so much sound.
So you make your way quietly to that door, going past the staircase to your right and the window to your left, which is boarded up as well. And as you go to close the door ever so quietly towards you, you catch a glimpse as you look through, and you see that this leads onto a proper porch with stairs going down, and sort of like a little veranda, perhaps, for want of a better word, a small side to the porch which follows the rest of the side of the farmhouse you're in, which extends for about 20 feet. And from what you can see, there's 2 windows there which have also been boarded up, and just at the foot of the stairs you can see that there's a circular stone small building which raises up from the ground, which you would recognize as a well. You see a bucket on the side with its rope.
Okay.
So you're closing the door quietly, yeah?
Towards me, yeah. So
You're pushing it.
I'm pushing it. Sorry, towards me, away from me. Yeah, I'm pushing it, and again, not clicking it in place, but yeah, trying to close it.
Yeah. So it closes quietly.
All right.
And as you're closing it, you're conscious of the footsteps you're hearing almost directly above you now, and you can hear 2 distinct voices speaking in Orcish as well.
Do they seem
very muffled through the floorboards?
Do they seem to be coming down?
No, they seem to be sort of just walking directly above you.
Okay.
Sort of like shuffling, and it doesn't appear like they're walking across the room, but perhaps like
just moving around.
Just moving around in general, yeah.
I mean, this is crazy, because this is not going to end well. But I'm too far gone here, so I'm just going to continue. And yeah, I'm going to click my immovable rod, click the button it has, and I'm going to place it against the door and click it into place.
Okay, so that would stop the door from opening inwards, yeah?
It's supposed to stay in place, and the rod can hold up to 8,000 pounds of weight.
Yeah, so an orc's not going to be able to to push the door through.
And it defies gravity, so it doesn't have to be attached or it doesn't have to be standing anyway. I can just do it in midair. So I'm going to do it in the middle of the door, tilted on its side.
Okay, understood. So yeah, you set the immovable rod there, click it into place, and slowly and quietly back away from the door.
Alright, so I might regret this. The story of Shrew might end here in this Butterskull Ranch. But for me, it doesn't make sense going all the way back now because I've gained nothing from having come here. I might be gambling a little bit too much, but I want to go up those stairs where I know for a fact there's 2 orcs at least because I've heard their footfalls.
Yeah.
But I want to try and do so in shrew form, but as quietly as I can.
So you're going upstairs then?
Yeah.
Okay, so as you turn around and you start making your way back to the stairs, you notice on your left-hand side, as you're walking back now, opposite the window, there's another door there that's shut. And as you're making your way quietly towards the stairs, you hear shouting coming from the direction of the door that you've just barricaded outside the house. And you also hear shouting from upstairs in Orcish, as if they're communicating with other orcs outside.
All right. Do I see anything from the boarded window? Do I have can I see anything, or it's completely boarded? There's no way I can see past it.
You can sort of peer through. You won't have much range of what you're seeing, and you sort of press your face as close as you can to the gap and start peering through. You see grasslands and the sort of north side of the farmstead where you were, the rolling hills, and as you peer to your left, you sort of catch just a little glimpse of a small wooden roof below you, and what appears to be like almost like a little annex lower down than where you are at present. Very small from what you can see.
That's suspicious. Would there be a way for me to do one of those pyrotechnic effects from where I am, from the boarded up window?
From my recollection, it doesn't say that there can't be any obstacles in between. It just needs to be something that you can see.
Yeah.
So yeah, you could.
And that would be the direction of the hills.
Yeah, that's correct.
Alright, so instead, if I can, I'm going to go back to the kitchen, peer outside the door that I slightly opened before, and try and do the pyrotechnic effect close to where I had done it previously, in the wheat field to the east-ish of the farm as we approached it.
You make your way for the kitchen, no issues there as you move quietly. You can still hear the voices sort of shouting from the top and from above you, sort of muffled from the floor in between you. And from outside the house, you sneak out.
Well, I don't want to sneak out, but more like, from inside the house.
Okay, yeah, so you open the door quietly in towards the kitchen. You're aiming, and as you're about to cast the spell, you hear a thud coming from the door that you had closed with the immovable rod. Right. And you sort of hear like a and shouting in Orcish, and sort of like a loud conversation happening between the voices you hear upstairs and the voices you hear outside.
Do I do the effect?
It's up to you. So
I want to do it.
I've let you know. Okay, so you hear the crackle, and again you hear a commotion upstairs, and the voices there again. A continual thudding on the door and shouting in Orcish, almost erupting into an argument from those above and outside. And are you looking through the gap?
Yeah, the gap I opened.
Okay, give me a perception check as you're doing that.
That's 4 plus 3, 7. My passive though is 12. If that changes anything.
Okay, yeah, we'll use the 12 then. So I mean, you're trying to look around as you've cast that to see if there's any movement, but you're very wary of the sound and the noise coming from upstairs, and the heavy sound of boots now moving a bit more frantically than they were before. The shouting is getting louder. You're hearing a thudding on the door as the voices become more, so what I'm looking for, more irate, perhaps.
All right.
And as you're looking around, you see where the burnt down stable or barn, you sort of catch a glimpse that the 3 orcs there again are sort of moving their way back to the fence, and this time from as they approach the fence, they're sort of picking up their weapons. They're looking a little bit more concerned now. This is now a number of loud crackles that they've heard. And as you're sort of looking around, you can't see Fenner, but you do see Fabian sort of leaning against a tree, looking rather worriedly. He's heard a loud bang, and you sort of see him starting to move as stealthily as he can, but you can see that he's sort of panicking a bit as he's making his way across the open grassland in the direction of the pond and the farmhouse.
All right.
There's no sight of Fenner though, as you see this.
Okay. I'm gonna get my stone of sending. Fenner.
Yes.
Make your way with Fabian. If you think you can stealthily. If not, just run towards the door I mentioned before.
The other 3 orcs have their weapons. They're starting to make their way over the fence.
If you can beat them to the door, get to the door and hold the door.
It's open land. Fabian's already on his way.
Run across then, make it to the door that I mentioned, and let Fabian hold the door in front of you. I am about to attack 2 orcs that are in the house.
Okay. And as Fabian's running, he sort of looks over his shoulder and sees Fenner looking. She's sort of broken her cover and she's legging it across this field. And you notice that the 3 orcs sort of draw their attention towards them and let out a shout. They look like they're being business now. And again, the commotion upstairs is getting louder. The banging on the door that you've locked is getting loud as well. The voices are getting more and more angry and more irate. And I think that's a perfect place to end this episode.
Oh, damn. Oh my, I'm gonna die.
And that's episode 8 done and dusted. 8 episodes in the bag, quite the milestone. Thanks so much for tuning in and for listening to us again. Really means so much to us. And you know what would mean even more?
Yeah, I know. Can I say it?
Yeah, you can say it.
If you leave a review or a comment and subscribe to our podcast on your podcast player of choice. Was that it?
Yeah, that would mean so much to us.
You know what would mean even more to us?
If you visit us where?
www. Back to the 90s. Just say the part.
Yeah.
You don't have to say the www.
www.i2td.com. That's the number 2, i2td.com. In case you haven't caught on by now, it's I for in, 2 for 2,
T for the,
and D for dungeon. i2td.com, intothedungeon.com. There you'll find links to our social media channels that we use, being Instagram and Twitter, and you also get an invite to our Discord channel where you can engage with us, and hopefully we're using that to make and to grow rather our community. I feel like I'm rambling a bit.
No, you're fine.
But that brings us on to our Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee segment.
Also a very important segment. Are we calling this a segment now? This is a segment, the Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee. But anyway, yeah, you can help with that and buy us a potion at Buy Me a Coffee. In this case, Buy Me a Potion. But no, the website is Buy Me a Coffee. You'll find a link on the website, and that would be a one-off donation, kind of donation where you could help us. And we also have Patreon, where you'll find different tiers, and those tiers offer certain perks. So think patron polls, exclusive roles in Discord, where you'll have access to exclusive chats and that kind of thing, behind the scenes content, a bit of early stuff as well. Things we'll be working on. You'll get some things we are working on, some free things, some free drops for you people as well, for you lovely people. And what else is there?
There's loads of stuff coming.
Loads of stuff.
We don't want to give it away. You got to become a patron to find out.
Yeah.
Join the Order of the Magus.
That's right.
Sorry, the Order of the Enlightened by becoming a Magus.
A Magus. And that's always going to help us grow more and bring you more stuff in the future, be it whatever it may be, but we will expand and grow, make episodes better, and hopefully bring you future content that you can enjoy.
For sure. And that brings us to the end of the episode club.
No. The last one's standing.
Look, you guys got to help us out. Get on Discord and vote, or those of you who are patron, we will put on a special patron poll. But basically, this is the segment of the outro, the show.
Yeah, well, a segment of segment of the segment.
Yeah, we said segment far too many times. But yeah, forgive our ramblings, but this brings us to a little end of the episode game where we'll give you a catchphrase with a link to the episode we've just played, and it shows us that you are the last one standing. Our loyal listeners who have made it this far and had to endure our shenanigans. And basically, if it's the first time you've got this far, we'll give you this code. You put a comment in any of the channels that you follow us in. We'll read them all. We'll laugh. We'll cry. And then we will decide which one was the funniest and give it a shout out on our Discord channel. Yeah. So without much further ado, what is today's magic word?
Today's magic word, today's catchphrase that you will have to insert in your comment is butter me up. Butter me up.
Butter me up. So yeah, throw that in one of your comments. Make us laugh, make us cry, make us enraged.
Whatever you make us, but make us something.
So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in and for listening to our ramblings. And we really hope to catch you again next time as we delve into the dungeon.